by June of 2024, my goals are to buy as many properties as I possibly can. Why? One is because I'm still focused on cash flowing properties. I want stuff that can meet the 1% rule. I want it, and if it doesn't meet the 1% rule today, can it meet the 1% rule? Or do I have a better option of just flipping it? Can I turn it into a lease option? And all of these different strategies have to line up to say, I can still exit this property and I have 90 days to do so.
All right, welcome back. I'm Jason.
I'm Colter.
And this is the Massive Passive Income Show.
And we're going to talk about the next 90 days and why it is the most important.
I'm excited for the next 90 days.
Well, I am too, actually. I am too. So, and let's break this down. Like, we've talked about goals, we've talked about our personal objectives, what we're trying to accomplish, and we're going to talk about the next 90 days in a couple of aspects. One is there's going to be some personal drives and objectives, and then the next 90 days and why it's the most important for us to understand the market, what we think it's doing, how we're going to respond to it, and how to make good decisions in that.
Love that.
And so, as we've talked about bigger goals, I think we've in past episodes talked about, hey, let's set a 5-year goal. Maybe it's a big, hairy, audacious goal, which we call BHAGs.
BHAGs.
And
I was trying to think of that the other day, and I screwed it up like 3 times.
I just want to know what you called it.
I think it was. I got the hag right, but I couldn't remember it was B. So I was like, you hag, me hag. What the heck is
it? All right. Well, we're going to go with you hag.
Exactly.
But in the next 90 days, it really is the most critical for us to say, I have something that I'm focused on and I'm going to go get it and I'm going to accomplish it. So when we break down our 5-year and our 1-year goals, really it comes down to what can we do in more of a sprint fashion. And when it comes to goals that are bigger, we have to break it down into smaller layers or else it becomes overwhelming and impossible to accomplish. And so I was having a conversation with a friend just the other day, and we were talking about why is the next 90 days the most important. Now we're talking about 2024 and what it has in this year. We have politics that are happening. We have economic changes, and some would consider it turmoil. Some would consider it positivity. And we have some changes in interest rates that we can likely predict that are going to be declining.
Inflation still hanging out there.
We're competing with inflation. And so all of these different factors have impacts on real estate. And so when we look at that, the next 90 days, in my opinion, is the most important. So we're looking at March and then April, May, June. So by June of 2024, my goals are to buy as many properties as I possibly can. Why? One is because I'm still focused on cash flowing properties. I want stuff that can meet the 1% rule. I want it, and if it doesn't meet the 1% rule today, can it meet the 1% rule? Or do I have a better option of just flipping it? Can I turn it into a lease option? And all of these different strategies have to line up to say, I can still exit this property and I have 90 days to do so.
Explain the 1% rule real quick. Most people probably don't, well, some people won't know what that is.
Yeah, no, great question. So if I buy a house for $200,000, I want $2,000 a month in rent in order to cover that mortgage payment.
Love that. Love that. And then you go the 1% rule on that, you want at least $200 a month in cash flow after it makes $2,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love that.
So that's what allows for us to, again, I'm buying more long-term properties and I want them to be able to cash flow. The 1% rule is not a rule. It's not a, hey, yeah, absolutely, you should buy every property that hits the 1% rule. And there's different properties that will kind of fall. Yeah, it's a quick gauge. It's just meant to make a quick split-second decision to say, I will pursue this further, or I'll leave it, for another time when I have more time. And then we can get into a more detailed analysis after that.
Because back in the day, I was looking for houses in the newspaper and in the Thrifty Nickel. So I needed to know the 1% rule. I'm like, oh, that'll meet it, that won't. I wouldn't make the phone calls on the ones that won't. So that was why it needed to be quick.
Yeah, and I just had a realtor that sent me, I think it was like 163 listings. And so I went through every single one of these listings. And if I spent more than 10 seconds on every single one of those,
that's a lot of time.
It adds up to a lot of time. And so I'm trying to see it, make a decision, see it, make a decision. And the faster that I can do that, and I know there's other tools that I can dump that into and et cetera, but I'm trying to make quick decisions. So again, the next 90 days, what are some of the factors that are impacting us? We have politics, we have interest rates, we have fuel prices, we have inflation, we have consumer comfort or discomfort.
Yeah, a lot of discomfort. There's some comfort.
Yeah, but there's still money in the market that can be put into properties. And you were just telling me today that you've seen bidding wars on different properties.
Yeah.
So
unemployment's still fairly low. For what's gone on, it's still lower than you would think it would be. So that's why it's kind of a weird market we're in right now.
Yeah. So when we compete with a weird market like this, I have to focus on a shorter window.
Yeah.
And when I think about 2024, my exit plan is prior to November 2024 if I'm going to sell in this market. So if I'm looking at between now and June, I want to buy. I want to buy. And then if I'm listing anything that I want to sell in the next, let's call it 3-4 years, I want it on the market by July and I want it sold by October.
Love it.
And then I can say, okay, November, December, which are already kind of dead months from not dead months, but usually transactions are slower between November
People don't want to move
January.
between Christmas and New Year or Thanksgiving and Christmas. They just don't want to. And so people stop looking because they're hanging out with the family. So it is lower.
Yeah.
I mean, everything slows down November, December.
So like I won't plan on selling a property, but there will be properties I'll still be pursuing to buy. But every 90 days, I'm assessing how I'm buying property a little bit differently. Because the next 90 days is what I feel like is still within a relative control for me.
Okay.
But I can't
set up a goal for the next 90 days, and then after that 90 days ends, set up a goal for the next 90 days. See what's going on in the market, see what's happening in interest rates. So just kind of take things at a 90-day.
At a 90-day increment.
Love that. Yeah.
So then if you look at quarter by quarter, and you have job reports that come out on a quarterly basis. You have
profits from big, huge stores that come out every 90 days. Yeah. What their projection was and what they didn't hit, or they exceeded their projections. So I like that, doing it by quarter, because then that gives you an idea of like, okay, I'm going to go out and buy 4 properties this quarter, and this is the reason why, because what's going on in the market. The next 90 days may change, and things are changing so fast. I love that you're breaking that up into 90-day increments, because what's good right now in this 90 days may not be good 90 days from now in that next 90 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is my process.
Yeah,
of course, we can overanalyze and we can stop ourselves, but you can make money in any market. But if you understand what's happening in your market today and have a relative good, positive direction for the next 90 days, you can make really good decisions based on quality data, based on what you know and your experience and your history in the market. So,
because it's really tough to make an offer today thinking 3 years from now the market's going to turn around. I mean, you can do that, and people do, and you need to look 3 years from now, but to do it in 90-day increments, I love that, because things can change. This 90 days was maybe good, this 90 days may not be good. There may be something changed. Not that you still can't buy properties, but things may be a little bit different in what you're looking for than what this 90 days was doing for you.
Yeah, and I always find it fascinating that, when I go to buy property, sometimes the seller is like, oh, but it could be worth this much, or it could be developed into this type of ground, or it could be, you could do all of these things and it could be, worth $100,000 more than what it really is.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I actually don't look at appreciation as a stagnant, solid factor. I look at it as, hey, you know what? If appreciation shows up, good for me. Yeah. But in the meantime, I want it to be controlled by me. So I want to understand, what is my after repair value today? I don't care what it is 6 months from now. I don't care what it is 6 years from now.
Yeah.
I care about what can I buy it for today, and what are my total costs into it, and then what is my after repair value? What can I expect the market to bear for me to sell it at market value?
Yeah.
But if I'm always planning on appreciation and I'm using that in my calculations, and that's going to impact my cash on cash ROI, my brain is going to be skewed to buy properties that are based on
projections,
speculation.
There you go.
And speculation doesn't make money.
Yeah, speculative buying is a tough gig. And sometimes you can hit it big. speculative buying, there's some markets that were appreciating every 90 days by 1%, 2% in Vegas back in 2005, 2006. The people that did it made some great money, but a lot of people lost a lot of money because they were like, oh, look at, we're increasing 1% every 90 days. I'm going to buy 5 properties and I'm going to hold on to them. Well, it did that for 3 quarters, and then last quarter it dropped everything it just made. So to speculative buy that, thinking, oh, 2 years from now it's going to be worth triple what I bought it for, man, that's a tough one, because then you overpay for the property now. Because you think, oh, it's going to be worth this in 2 years. Well, you overpay for it now, and if anything happens in the market, now you're sunk.
Yeah, so I love to see a property as what it can bear today and how it can make money today and how I can turn it into a higher producing property, but it's all focused on today. Or the next 90 days, which again feels like it is more within a relative control time frame that says, okay, there can't, right? We've seen how pandemics and other things can change things for the better or the worse, depending on your segment in the market. But the next 90 days, I have a pretty good control on. And so that's where I get all of my rehab projects. They don't last longer than 90 days. They're back on the market and they're ready to be marketed within 90 days every single time, or else it's too big of a project and I'm not interested. Because there's holding costs, there's the time frame of market shifting and changing. And again, I want the next 90 days, the next 2 quarters actually, to where I'm acquiring property, and then I want to be able to have all of my properties that I'm going to sell within the next 1 to 3 years. I want them on the market so that they can be sold before this election. And that's just my personal basis of what I want to accomplish in 2024. Even though I don't really have a whole lot of plans of selling any property, I want them cash flowing and performing. And those that need to be sold, I'll sell them.
And you'll sell them before that last quarter, because that's when the election is. No, I think that's a good solid plan. And that's the thing with anything you do, even in business or real estate, you've got to plan things out. And I think sometimes people get in trouble when they're just planning year by year, or 1 year and 5 years and 10 years. I think we need to really focus on not only month to month, but every quarter. Where your projections are going to be. What do you think we're going to be doing in 90 days? Where do you think the market's going to be in 90 days? Because then, like you just said, you buy it knowing that this is going to work for the next 90 days. Then you've made what you need to make, and you've done what you need to do with that property, no matter what happens in the market afterwards. And I think that makes it more solid of a plan than just speculative. And I think there's too many people that do speculative buying. When I had a realtor about it 6 months ago call me and said, hey, you can get this way below market value. And I'm like, it's not. This is actually at market value. Yeah, but you compare it to a year ago, or a year and a half, it's way below market value. I'm like, whoa. I was like, how long have you been a realtor? Because he got my name from somewhere. He's like, about 6 months. And nothing about realtor. I love realtors, they're great, but he just didn't understand. And he was going off of, well, if it was worth this much a year and a half ago, it'll be worth that much in a year and a half, and maybe it will. But I'm not going to buy it at market value, or even probably it was a little over market value, knowing that it was worth $100,000 a year and a half ago more than what it is now. He thought he was giving me a heck of a deal. I'm like, no, there's no deal there. I said, I'm out. I said, if you can get that for 50 grand less than what it's right now, I might look at it and well, you want to walk it? Nope, I don't even want to waste time walking it. I didn't say waste time. I was like, I don't need to walk it. I already know the numbers don't work for me. So.
Well, and I think it's funny is that some people will just kind of throw it out there, like hoping that it sticks and that you'll make this some outlandish offer. I had an email just recently, a guy sent over to me. He says, hey, there's 11 lots. It's in this location, and the lots are going to go between $100,000 and $115,000 a piece. And I think they would bundle it and sell it to you for a discount, maybe, kind of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nothing actionable with that. Like, what do you want me to do? Throw you an offer of like 30 cents on the dollar? I know what the play was, but okay, why do they want to sell them as a bundle? Do they not think that the development's going well? Are they hitting barriers? All that does is like, why are these guys trying to exit? Now, if that person had come to me and said, hey, you know what? They're looking for $800,000. You have the prospect of turning it into $1.1 million. And I have a couple of these lots already sold at the $115,000 valuation. And we have a spec home going in on another one.
And we got X amount of people looking at building homes and getting permits right now.
Yeah, it completely changes the
But we need
conversation.
some floating money in order to walk us through.
Yeah,
totally different
but if somebody throws me, like, hey, imagine the vision you could have with this property, and I just don't have the time to analyze property that way. I need somebody to show up to me and say, here's the project, here's the prospects of the project, can you run with it, or do you like the details or do you not? Or do you need more? And then after at least some sort of a vision has been painted, then I can start to take it down a road that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Whereas in another conversation, I've got a guy that's presented 25 acres to me. We can split it 10 times, and 10 times it is raw land right now. We'll turn it into 10 lots. And we're going to be $450,000 total cost into the property, and we'll have $1.2 million on this sale on the back end.
Now that's something that gets you a little excited.
That gets me excited, right?
At least it's worth digging into.
Yeah, but if somebody's just telling me, hey, you know what, these lots could sell at the 1.1, 1.2 on the back end, I don't know. I can only imagine what else has happened here. And I don't need to pick up somebody's project to finish the last 10%, because I can do the 60% on my own with another project.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, I love that. I love planning out your next 90 days. So if in your next 90 days, if you've made a goal to buy a property, let's go get a property. If in your next 90 days, you're like, man, I'd really like to get some education. I'd really like to learn about real estate. I'd love to join some networking events. We're doing events all the time. We're meeting together all the time. We're doing masterminds. Get a hold of us. Let us know what you'd like to be a part of. Because if you really want to buy property next 90 days, cash flowing, I think we can make that happen. I really do. It just depends on how bad you want it. And if that's part of one of your goals, let's go make it happen. Because we're getting deals every day. I get somebody sending me a deal. A lot of times they're not a deal, but it's a deal. But some of them are. And just like that one you're taking down out on 17th Street, just came to you, and who knows? Who knows what's going to be next? But you might be able to have that next project, or you might be able to just get your feelers out there, what you're looking for, and all once you've got a deal in front of you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that deal on 17th Street, it was painted to me, I had to work through some of the details. 2 houses, 1 parcel can now be 3 parcels. And the 2 houses existing, those can then be lease optioned. Like, there's so many possibilities with that one particular property. We can go and create, some more value out of what is existing and turn it into something just that much better.
And that is a deal. If you can buy a deal that's a deal, and then, meaning it makes sense just to buy it the way it is, but then if you can create more value with what the deal is, man, that's just, I don't want to say gravy, but it's just extra icing on the cake when you get creative. Yeah. And then if you buy creatively, that's even better.
Even better.
Yeah, definitely. Well, good episode. I think that was great. I think all of us need to be thinking about the next 90 days, the next 6 months, and the next year. But let's chunk it at 90 days.
Yeah, and it's all to complement the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right? You're painting a larger vision. Like, we don't buy real estate to say, hey, you know what, I just want to do this once and then that's my forever. Right? And maybe that is your goal.
Yeah. Maybe one property is all you want.
But let's look at a longer prospect, but then focus on the short term of what am I going to do today and day 1 through 89 and 90 that allow for you to start to reach toward those bigger goals. And if it's just, hey, I want to do something for the next 7 days and focus on that and then expand it out to your 90 days, go after something that helps you make progress and intentionally move toward your end objective.
Yeah, love it. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for being here.